We're joined live and exclusive at this time from California by Sam Pitroda, Senior Congress Leader. It's well into the night in California. Thank you very much, Mr. Pitroda, for joining us. You know, we're looking back at the life and times of Manmohan Singh. As somebody who worked with him over the decades in different capacities, what do you think would be the most remarkable highlight of Dr. Singh's life?
You can look at Dr. Singh's life at various levels. At a personal level, I would like to focus on his character, his values, his simplicity, and sort of Gandhian way of looking at the world. The world rooted in democracy, human rights, justice, concern for poor, bottom-up development, equity, inclusion. These were very fundamental issues to him at a personal level. At a working level, he was more focused on consensus building. He was a great listener. He was a team player. He was not into hierarchies, feudal approach to management. He allowed people to build consensus. Let them sort it out. He was there observing them, guiding them, but not dictating them. He was not into micromanagement. He was more there to motivate you, empower you, respect you. I can give you an example of our conversation in a big committee on BSNL. During his time, BSNL was going down and down. So he decided to call a meeting of about 10, 12 of us. On one side of him was his secretary, Putin Nair. On the other side, Montek and I sat there. He listened to everybody. And then at the right time, he said, Sam, what's your view? So I explained my view. He listened to it carefully. In about 5 minutes, he said, why don't we set up a committee? Let Sam chair it. We'll have Deepak Parekh and chairman of SBI, Maya Verma, work with him to give us a plan in 30 days. He made his decision then and then. We set up a committee and we submitted a plan in 30 days. It was very tactfully done without antagonizing anyone. And that was his style. Whether it was on railway reforms, Prasar Bharati bill that I worked on, or Knowledge Commission, innovation, public information infrastructure, he had similar approach to management, leadership, and consensus building. He was not there to take credit. He was not there to really put his foot down. That was not his style. And many misread that as somebody who is very sort of not very powerful. His nuclear deal was an example of his perseverance. He strongly believed that for India to continue at 8% growth, biggest bottleneck will come from energy. We'll deal with human capital, but we will not be able to deal with the energy requirement. So he was keen to really look at clean energy, and he also knew that nuclear technology will change next 10, 15 years, we will find smaller nuclear plants more manageable. So he put his political capital on nuclear deal in a very effective way. There were a lot of people against him, especially from Communist Party and others, because he had to manage a coalition government.
Mr.
It was
Pitroda,
a
when you
huge coalition
compare and contrast
of
the
more
leadership
than 20
styles of
parties.
Prime Minister Narendra
And he
Modi
managed
and
it pretty
Dr.
well.
Manmohan Singh, there are various differences that can be seen. You're also heading the Overseas Congress, so you see the kind of popularity that Prime Minister Modi enjoys internationally. So how would you think Dr. Singh would have looked at that, the kind of cult popularity that the current Prime Minister enjoys versus his more understated, sober, low-key leadership style?
No, I think popularity is measured today in terms of TV appearance, social media, tweets and all. Those are not the measurements in Manmohan Singh's time. Media was not the kind of media you have today. In addition, today, a lot of the popularity can be purchased. You can build your trend if you have $5 million to build your trend. You can show up on Google search list on the top. You can have large number of followers in whatever social media you want, if you have money to spend. And people spend money today to gain popularity. He was not into that. He didn't pay attention to that at all.
What would you think of as Dr. Singh's unfinished agenda, the things that he
I
would
can't
have
hear you.
liked to get done, but for various reasons to do with coalition compulsions couldn't push through, things that were dear to his heart, but he wasn't able to get done as an executive order?
Well, he got a lot of things done. I don't know of any big agenda he had that he couldn't push through. If you look at his real agenda on right to information, right to education, right to food, foreign policy, NREGA, reforms on railways, his US visit, relationship with Obama and US and India getting closer to each other, his initiative on knowledge, universities. I think all of these got done. Okay, I cannot think of anything substantial that he had that didn't get done. If you know, maybe you can remind me of that.
Sure. You work with him closely, particularly on the education sector. Landmark bills like Right to Education, Right to Information Act, give our viewers your sense of how they've changed India's rights landscape, making much of what we now take for granted, economically weaker sections of society having a fixed quota in schools, or the Right to Information Act. All of those were landmark legislations that the Singh government pushed through.
I think right to information was one of the most important legislation that I can think of. As important as perhaps NREGA as a program. Right to information really opened up the system. It created more transparency, accessibility. It got civil society to participate on a broader platform. And I think it will go a long way in the future to build and strengthen our democracy. NREGA was really to provide capacity to spend money to people who don't have any money. It was a program to really shift income into poor hands so they have purchasing power. These were huge programs. Took a long time to execute. And now people take it for granted. But these programs has changed the face of India.
Mr. Pitroda, this is Preeti Chaudhary.
you.
Mr. Pitroda, this is Preeti Chaudhary here from India Today. I have two quick questions for you, sir. One of them, we've in the current age of politics, political leaders speak much of where they come from, whether it's humble beginnings, their origins. But you had a Dr. Singh who came from absolutely nothing, undivided Pakistan, crossed over when he was just 14 years old, went through hell, but never quite spoke about what he actually went through, never used it as political currency.
Because he was a man of character. He was not there to cash in on anything. He was not there to buy sympathy. He was not there to buy glory. He had substance. He was a man of confidence, self-esteem. His self-esteem was not fragile. So you get hurt very easily. I think that was a different generation. Today, people are hollow.
But, Mr. Pitroda...
They don't have depth of knowledge. They know things on surface with some buzzwords, and they want to pass on as experts.
Mr. Pitroda, the legacy of Dr. Singh will always be remembered as, this glorious economist, technocrat, prime minister, but very little credit is actually given to him as being an astute politician at times. You can hark back to the year 2008, where he actually got the Samajwadi Party to support his government on a no-trust vote, when the left was supporting the UPA from outside decided to pull back on the nuclear deal with the US. And he managed to do it. And then getting Mulayam Singh to support the candidature of, Pranab Mukherjee.
Yes, he was committed to the nuclear deal. He put his political capital online for the nuclear deal because he was very concerned about energy deficiency in India. He and I had a conversation on this, and he said, Sam, if we want to grow at 8%, we got to lock up the energy for the future. Without energy, India cannot deliver the kind of growth India has to deliver, which was pretty visionary.
Do you also see when he came in 2004 a possible pull away of what was the Nehruvian way of foreign policy?
Well, he realized that we need to build strength with democracy. He realized that technology is going to be very important. He realized that US has all the technology we need, and we need to align a little better with US than we have done in the past. And that's why he worked with US on the nuclear deal.
Mr. Pitroda, there would be a relationship, I would reckon, that would go down in the annals of Indian history as, a professional, working, collaborative relationship, which was that of Ms. Sonia Gandhi and Dr. Singh. In 2004, when she gave up being the Prime Minister, she actually said there can't be anyone more able, than him. Would you reckon how this relationship is panned out? Because we are playing visuals of Ms. Sonia Gandhi standing by his family today, where it practically ends a full chapter in Indian political history.
Well, Dr. Manmohan Singh was committed to Congress party ideology. As I said earlier, he was very Gandhian in his approach to development, lifestyle, value, character. He saw in Congress party the idea of India that he believed in. So he worked with Sonia Gandhi well because he had the confidence of Sonia Gandhi, and his job was very clearly cut out. He had the autonomy to run the government, while we had set up National Advisory Council under Sonia Gandhi. I was a member of that in the beginning, to really give some big ideas like NREGA to government. And our job was to put ideas on table and let the government, department, ministry, through public consultation, decide on what needs to be done and how it has to be done. There was no push from Sonia Gandhi's part to implement any of these programs. But more as a think tank, the idea was to put it on the table. And that's what we did. And that relationship worked very well.
Mr. Pitroda, last two questions before we let you go, sir. You know, often Dr. Singh has been called the reluctant Prime Minister. He himself made it very clear that he was the least of an accidental Prime Minister. But when you recall the memory of Dr. Singh, because there's an entire generation that really doesn't know who the man really was, what would you say?
He was a committed Prime Minister. He had India's interests at heart and not personal interest. He believed in the ideology of the Gandhi and Congress party. He saw that as a platform to operate. He was a man with character who believed in consensus building. He was not command and control kind of an individual. He believed in collaboration, cooperation, and that was his unique way of functioning.
Mr. Pitroda,
he was not harsh.
Mr. Pitroda, before we let you go, is there a personal anecdote, sir, that you'd want to recall? I'm sure you have plenty. Please. My final question before we let you go, Mr. Pitroda, is there a personal anecdote that you recall of your interactions with Dr. Singh?
Oh, there are many. You know, I can talk about many, but I would say every time I went to him with an idea, he listened to it very carefully. Never interrupted, never said this is not a good idea or a bad idea. He let me finish. And I felt very comfortable that I got my hearing. That was his style.
Mr. Pitroda,
you felt good about being with him.
Mr. Pitroda, we appreciate you taking the time.
He always made you feel comfortable.
We appreciate you taking the time out and joining us, because we'd like to just, we're going to go into a quick break, but we'll file out with what Mr. Pitroda says, because something that has been echoed by practically every political leader who has worked closely with Dr. Singh today says the same thing, that no matter what, he used to hear us, he used to listen to us, he'd give what his submissions were, but he'd hear you out. And it's come from the likes of the youngest cabinet ministers to have worked with Dr. Singh, Mr. Sachin Pilot, to one of the oldest, Mr. Chidambaram, who I spoke with just a short while back. And each one of them talk about this one quality of Dr. Singh, that no matter where he was, what he was doing, if you went to him, he'd give you a patient hearing, he'd encourage you to come up with your ideas, he'll incorporate some, but he will always make you feel that you were counted for. The silent statesman. And I would reckon that's his contribution to India, because somewhere down the line, he made sure that we were all counted for.